The final chapter covers one of my favourite and most powerful features that exists between linking your AdWords and analytics accounts, and that's the remarketing audiences. Now, most businesses tend to do some form of remarketing, but often it's a bit generic and therefore not all that effective. The common tactic is to retarget all visitors or that sort of thing, which isn't very ROI effective. Also, people tend to use custom remarketing code and pixels and create lists within AdWords and so on, when they can actually manage audiences from within analytics. No extra code is required. As long as you have the remarketing features enabled, as we discussed in the very first chapter of this training, then this facility will be available to you, and you can be one of the smarter people, not trying to juggle all these lists and codes all over the place. By linking AdWords and analytics together, you have an ability to create your own audiences and simply push them to AdWords without doing any of the tagging on your website. It's simple. However, there's a bit of a sad statistic that many of us have to deal with, and that's 98% of website visitors are leaving before they're converting. A lot of people merely focus on getting traffic to their websites. They spend a lot of time and money doing so too. The problem is that the average conversion rate, i.e. the number of people taking action on your website, is around 2%. True, your conversion rate might be a bit higher. It could also be lower. But even if it were higher, that still leaves the majority of your visitors who simply don't convert on their first visit. Hence, remarketing. There's a lot of money left on the table. Also, don't be conned into thinking that those 90-odd% that got away were necessarily your customers either. Depending on where you look and who you listen to, it's suggested that around 35 to 40% of all visitors were just browsing, so they're essentially window shopping. Which is fine, because that still leaves up to 60% of your traffic in some form of buying mode. That's good. There's unlocked potential ready to be tapped. And the good news is as well that returning visitors are typically more likely to spend and convert. This is where remarketing and retargeting comes into play. So when it comes to remarketing, there are lots of platforms and tools available, but for the purpose of this training, we're going to be focusing and discussing analytics integration with a few tactics that can be extended to retargeting on Facebook if you so wish, and of course combined with your email marketing. And as promised, I'll show you a whole heap of retargeting methods that mean you don't have to discount to get a customer. And quickly, whilst we're here, I want to discuss the difference between remarketing and retargeting, because that's where some confusion creeps in over the two terms. The biggest difference between retargeting and remarketing is the strategy that's used to reach potential customers who have left your website. Now, remarketing is typically re-engaging customers with email or direct mail, whereas retargeting is typically following people around the web in an effort to attract them back to your site to complete their inquiry or purchase. Unless you're Google, that is. In which case, remarketing, not retargeting, is showing search and display ads to your past visitors. So to avoid any confusion going forwards, let's just talk about the tactics and not the definitions. If I say retargeting, I mean remarketing, and likewise. Briefly, how does it work? So retargeting works by dropping a cookie on a website visitor's browser. A piece of code on your website triggers this event. Facebook calls it a pixel and Google calls it simply a tracking code. But either way, it's a cookie, a little digital footprint on someone's web browser. Next, let's cover every tactic your business should be deploying when we're talking about retargeting.